This is the first step to developing a black belt level ankle lock.
There are 3 core objectives when it comes to ankle locks, but it all starts here with the grip.
So this is the rear naked choke grip.
Now this is literally like the most important part of this entire video, so listen closely. We want to get the toes pocketed in our armpit and the heel resting on our ribs. Next, as you lock up the rear naked choke grip, make sure you raise your hands high and shrug your shoulders to ensure there's no space within the footlock. And congratulations, you just became an ankle lock expert.
Got it!
You're still gonna need to understand these 3 core objectives, so tell your wife you're busy and let's get started. Take a look at this blue belt I found online. There is literally just so much space and no pressure on the ankle, and his opponent is staring at him with no care in the world. Let's fix it. The 2 main things we need to address here are 1, the space within the ankle lock, and 2, his opponent being able to lift his hips off the mat to alleviate pressure. The first problem can be addressed with the rear naked choke grip. Once again, the goal is to eliminate as much space as possible within the footlock. So wrap up that rear naked grip and let your white belt mind take over.
I just grab that shit and squeeze it as hard as I can.
And regarding the hips coming up, that's our first objective.
When I go in for this lock here, as he starts to raise his hips, I'm gonna put my foot down on his hip, press his hips back down, and put all of my weight through my heel. Now, as I start to lift and raise my hands, if his hips can't come off the mat, we can get a lot of braking pressure there.
With this newfound information, let me take it into live sparring so I can show you guys how it works on the mat.
All right guys, we are here at Mat Chess MMA, and we're gonna put these ankle lock details into practice. And guys, the cool thing about Mat Chess is we have a coffee shop. Wait, Kyle, come this way, come this way. Inside we have the coffee shop. Wow, super cool. And then we go downstairs into the basement, and that's where the jiu-jitsu happens.
So here are the goals for this round. I want to get the rear naked choke grip in a timely fashion, and I want to demonstrate exactly what I mean by pinning his hips. Okay, so looking to engage in the leg locks, the first thing I want to do is get under Jackson's hips. So I'm gonna grab his ankle, pull myself under, and now that I'm under his hips, I can more easily manipulate his weight. At the end, if you want to learn more about engaging in a guard, go check out this video right here. But anyway, and I'm gonna shut the music off for this, this is another very, very important detail here. Now that I'm under Jackson's hips, my next goal is to off-balance him to either force his hands or butt to touch the mat. And the idea here is if I can get his hands or butt on the mat, that should make his legs vulnerable and light, and now I can enter the ankle lock system. From there, I lock up on the rear naked choke grip, and I'm starting to attack the foot. Right here you can see the rear naked choke grip, and objective 1 is in play. I have the grip locked up, and I'm pressing down on his hips. From a defensive standpoint, Jackson wants to do the reverse. So objective 1, where my goal is to pin his hips to the mat, he wants to get the feet off of his body and look to flatten his foot onto the floor. And from there it becomes a race. Can I meet those conditions and work towards the break? Or can Jackson deny those conditions and work towards an escape? Now in the end, I implement objectives 2 and 3, and I'm able to find this out. So let's take a look at that next objective. Okay, now so far we've covered the rear naked choke grip, locking up the ankle tightly, removing all the space, and raising our hands high. And we've also talked about the first objective, which is pinning the hips, or relatively just keeping weight on them. For objective 2, our main goal is to get their knee pointing outwards. And this idea is explained super well by, of course, Gordon Ryan.
So with Achilles locks, Bernardo's whole thing from here is he wants to go into a belly down position. If he can go belly down from here, he can put body weight into the lock and he can finish me.
And this is of course our goal, but I want you guys to pay attention to Gordon's knee position as he goes for the defense.
As he goes to go belly down, I can tilt him into this position and keep him belly up.
Now keeping that knee facing outward is the entire idea of our second objective. So in this clip, we're at Identity Jiu-Jitsu. And to add to the challenge, my opponent's knee was also a little injured, so I chose to attack my non-dominant side. I begin by getting my foot to the inside and using shin to get into single leg X. From here, I press my foot and knee on his hip and get into his butt. From there, some things you might notice is I'm trying to control both legs, and my goal is to get my feet to the inside position of my opponent. And I'll explain the significance of that in a second, but the idea is to get both your feet between your opponent's legs. Now I'm actually gonna bring my left leg out and start to press on his hips and start to give him something to worry about. As he goes to grab my foot and remove it from his hip, I actually grab my own shin, which will make it a little harder to peel it off. And as he does, I go ahead and swivel my foot back to the inside position, and here is why that is so important.
Safe. If I have both legs inside, Aiden has minimal attacks on me, and I have a variety of attacks on Aiden. Also looking at that from this position, which we're gonna cover here just in a second, we have access to single leg X, outside Ashi, saddle, 2 legs inside, right? Whereas Aiden's ability to leg lock me is short to none. There is the exception of the Kyle foot lock, right? But This is a one-off and it's not super common. So in general, inside position with the legs, either having my knees inside or my feet inside, gives me access to a variety of leg locks while reducing Aiden's ability to attack me.
Now, looking at that in the round, as my opponent pulls my foot off of his hip, I go ahead and swivel my foot to the inside position. And from here, we use objective 1, pinning the hips, and objective 2, turning the knee outward to get the finish. Also notice because I have inside foot position, as he goes for a counter ankle lock, I'm not as afraid of it, and I know that I can break his foot before he can break mine. Now before we move on to objective 3, I want to talk about how I'm training myself to hit each of these objectives instinctually. And within all of my training, this game right here has given me the highest skill retention within the game of legs. This is the hip pinning game, and it pretty much speaks for itself. Your entire goal is to maintain your opponent's hips on the mat. There are no submissions, and I believe that's very important. In a normal round where you would tap to an ankle lock or a heel hook, by removing the element of submissions, it allows you to work out of leg entanglements you would otherwise just quit in, and allows you to build those skills of pommeling your feet, getting the feet off your hips, building height, and all of the above. Some things that I haven't talked about already in this video would be removing Aiden's foot from the floor. If I can keep one foot off the ground, I know that I'm gonna have control over his weight. I also look to try to bend his knee using my shins, which will make it hard for Aiden to maintain his base.
So Aiden here, he's a blue belt, but he's obviously rocking the absolute mixed martial arts rash guard, which gives him at least 10% more effectiveness on his leg locks. Shout out Lachlan. So can you kind of walk me through what's going through your head whenever we're playing that game?
So I'm typically thinking about 3 things when I'm playing the hip pinning game. And that would be, first of all, keeping my feet on his hips and keeping weight on my feet as well, so that he has a hard time just lifting his hips off of the mat. And then the next kind of thing that I'm thinking about is externally rotating his knees. When you rotate his knee outwards, you reach end range of motion on his hip, and then you just get direct control over his hips, right? So when I push Carson's knee outward, it starts to turn his hips. So how that applies to the game would be, if he's trying to stand up, I can rotate my knees outwards and keep his hips down, and he can also stand up, and I can pressure the inside of his knee to a point where he's gonna have to fall over.
Now let's talk about the last objective, extension. Looking back at our round with Jackson, he was doing his best to clear the feet off his hips and turn his knee inward to stand up. But in order to maintain those 2 conditions, he also needed to get close. So in cooperation with objective 1, keeping their hips pinned, and objective 2, keeping their knee turned outward, we also want to keep them extended and far away, which should prevent them from being able to hand fight. And as I push their upper body away, it'll reinforce objectives 1 and 2, keeping their hips down and keeping their knee turned outward, as it limits their ability to sit up and reverse those objectives. Now to test out the complete ankle lock system, we're going to go back to Identity Jiu-Jitsu for our boss battle against a brown belt named Tuan.
So we have Tuan in the background. He's our brown belt, and we're gonna go against him, see if we can implement all of these details.
So as Tuan and I get started, he's gonna look for inside feet position. As I try to get my feet between his, he hits this cheeky mermaid sweep, putting me down. Now on bottom, we're gonna implement everything we've learned in this video. To enter, I'll use K-guard. With my foot across his hip, I'm gonna take a scoop grip on his far leg as I invert my knee under him, and as I pull that leg towards me and use my foot to push him backwards, it'll force his hands to the mat, eventually leading to his butt on the mat, and now his leg is exposed. I start to work in a single leg X, and as we roll through here, I get that initial bite with my right arm. Now it's time to start working towards these objectives. I'll use my left knee to pin his hips and turn his knee outward, completing both objective 1 and 2. Tuan grabs my arm with both hands, preventing me from getting the rear naked choke grip. And this is where mission 3 really comes to shine. I'm gonna maintain my base with my left knee, my right foot, and my head. From there, I'm gonna continue walking my head outward inch by inch, and eventually pummel both my feet to the inside position of Tuan's hips. From there, I'll use my legs to create an even bigger gap between my upper body and Tuan. This will weaken the strength of his grip, eventually leading him to let go, and we can find our submission. So if you guys learned something from this video, make sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.
Feet like this. I think that was the gayest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, for sure.